Let's get more reaction from the business community now on this ongoing strike, and we're joined by the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry President, that's Prasheen Maharaj, who speaks to us from Durban. Mr. Maharaj, thank you very much for your time. I know that the business community in your neck of the woods has seen one too many crises, but talk to us about the latest Transnet strike and the kind of impact it has had so far.
Yeah, good morning, Coley, and good morning to the listeners. Indeed, KZN, and especially Durban, has been hard hit, not only with the pandemic, but the looting and rioting, by the floods, by the cyber attack, and now obviously the strike. Our economy is in a very, very fragile stage. It's literally hanging by a thread, and we can ill afford another shock to the system. You know, when one looks at the strike in 2010, it cost then 7 billion rand, and we estimate this strike will cost anywhere between 12 to 15 billion rand. So that's 1 billion rand a day that's lost to the country's economy by such a strike. And we, especially in Durban and KZN, cannot afford such a shock to the economic system anymore.
Well, let's reflect on that previous strike that you talk about. The understanding is that it was a logistical nightmare for the harbour to get back into shape because of the backlogs that it caused. How the situation looking at the moment?
So at the moment, obviously, Transnet workers is down tools. The port is working at probably 5 to 15% of capacity. The port system is part of a network industry, so any disruption in the port system has a knock-on effect on the rest of the economy. So we have the inability to take goods into the country and out of the country. It affects our farmers, it affects our manufacturers. You know, it's a massive domino effect. And right now, all businesses, I was with some members yesterday, we're in a panic state, especially with the perishable goods. Perishable goods, once they cannot be sent out of the country fast enough, those goods are lost. They need to be disposed of. And really, the agricultural sector is a large job creator. And they're already depressed from the floods, from a drought from a few years ago. So this was going to be their hopeful bumper season, and looks like it's not going to transpire anymore.
And let's then add to this conversation what organizations like the Business Leadership South Africa has been saying, and that is that they stand ready to lend a helping hand in order for this strike to be resolved much sooner before it causes an intractable impact on the economy. Where do you stand as the Durban Business Chamber of Commerce? Can you help in any way?
Yes. Yes, so the first thing we did, we supplied a confirmatory affidavit in support of Transnet interdicting the strike. As much as we understand the plight of the workers due to the high cost of living, at the end of the day, Transnet is a member. All the logistics players in the port are members of the Durban Chamber of Commerce, and we had to support our members whilst not ignoring the plight of the workers. Secondly, we have engaged SASOA and a few of the other members who are saying in order to help Transnet afford the level of increases that the unions are seeking, we're happy to pay an additional levy on the container for a few months, and this will contribute and alleviate the hardships that Transnet is facing. And even after paying that levy, we did a study, and South Africa will still remain in the bottom quartile of global countries in terms of competitiveness and cost effectiveness. So on those two fronts, we were able to assist our member Transnet.
Let's talk about the energy crisis, Mr. Maharaj. That's another element that seems to be plaguing the entire country. But yesterday you were hit with a slightly different problem, and that is a substation which basically plunged half of Durban into darkness. How worried are you about energy sustainability in the country?
Oh, we continue to be very worried, especially when the CEO of Eskom talks about going to stage 15 load shedding. You know, something unheard of, unprecedented, and it's never been part of the narrative of the conversation. But when the very CEO of a company says such a thing, we get into a state of panic. And therefore, what we've been saying, we need to get closer to each other as government and as business and really understand what we're facing and what is it that business can bring to the table to alleviate the energy crisis. How can we expedite the decision making of bringing independent power producers onto the grid? So for us, for as long as we don't have energy, our businesses continue to be compromised. It's hard for us to secure export orders where people are not sure whether our supply chain can meet the global demand. So for us, the quicker government can talk to us, the more enabling environment they create and kind of let go of some bureaucratic obstacles to us bringing energy to the grid quickly, we would really encourage that. But I think we need to reduce the trust deficit between government and private sector in order for this to happen.
And that's a very interesting point to end this conversation. You talk about the trust deficit. Last week, I watched a media briefing that you were involved in alongside the mayor of the city. And I think much of the conversation there had to do with the upcoming tourism season, which is December. The Durban beaches, yes, some of them have been opened, but the issue of E. coli in the Durban beaches, and interestingly, next to you is a board with the World Maritime Day parallel event that is taking place there. How worried are you that the tourism season, this upcoming tourism season, will somewhat be limping by the time you get your visitors? Are you confident that some of those things will be resolved?
Yes, Kolya, I'm very confident. We have engaged the municipality vigorously. We, as the private sector, has also offered on a commercial basis to fix some of the wastewater treatment plants that will enable the E. coli levels to dissipate and really bring whatever resources and efficiency and capital that the private sector can bring to the table so that we ensure that Durban is ready to receive tourists in December or during the festive season. We have the highest level of assurances from the mayor, from the municipality, that all help is welcome and they will work fervently in the next few weeks, and that by the end of November, or say by the start of the festive season, Durban will indeed be ready to receive tourists and hope so to have a bumper festive season after the many years of COVID.
That's the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry President, Prasheen Maharaj. Let me thank you very much for affording us your time. Thanks indeed. That's the president there of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry.